Well, that's a sneak preview of this wonderful voice. And that voice belongs to none other than Suzette McLean. Good morning. Oh, Vanessa. Why do I keep saying Suzette? All morning. Me thinking Vanessa. No, I'm going to call her Suzette. Maybe because you look like a Suzette.
Well, I'll just take the name, Suzette.
Vanessa Suzette McLean.
Thank you.
Well, when you are called Suzette, you are immune from anybody suing you, you know?
Ah,
yeah, Suzette.
Pastor, I swear you're being mischievous in the word sue. I swear you know something else about me. Pastor, I tell you, it's not a coincidence, Sue. You definitely pick a right word here.
Oh my God. so what I live on the course, you're singing.
Susan!
Welcome to Pastor Bello Live program. I am being introduced to your music for the first time, and I like what I'm hearing. Could you tell us a little bit about Venessa?
Venessa Mclean.
Venessa Mclean. Venessa Mclean. Welcome to Possible Live, Venessa.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about you, your career, where you're coming from, where you are now, and where you hope to go.
My career myself. Well, first of all, I am the daughter of a Grammy Award-winning musician, Ranchi McLean. It was Sly and Ranchi before it became Sly and Robbie. And he wrote Rubber Dub Partner by Jimmy Cliff. And that film that Jimmy Cliff was in, he was also in that film as well. So my father has worked extensively as a bass guitarist. He wrote as well, but his primary thing was a bass guitar. And he was known for that. Despite trying to sing, they just said, Ranchi, you have to do the bass guitar, because he was so good at it. And he would dance and play, and he was one of them flashy kind of character. So that is where I'm coming from musically. And also, my mother was missionary green, and she was a strong Christian and a lover of music, joined the church choir, and a preacher of the gospel. So that is where I'm coming from primarily in terms of my thinking in terms of music, which is a primarily reggae, gospel, and I would say I'm never a person who is traditionalist. I don't believe in boxes and staying in, this idea that you must be here or you must be there. I believe that I'm led in terms of where I'm coming from musically. I have been driven, I have been led by the Most High God, and that is where I'm coming from, because as a child I was always torn between reggae and gospel. And how do you cross over? Because in my day, when I was younger and was in church growing up, you never had reggae gospel. It wasn't so developed. And so you either sung reggae or you sung gospel. So that is where I am coming from. Yes, that is where I am coming from. Reggae gospel background.
All right. You couldn't get away, Venessa. You could not get away at all. You could not get away. Yes? Because if your daddy is Ranchi, who played bass with Sly, I am saying to you that they're trying to get you to look into the camera. This little thing right here, so.
That I'm always trying to get away from. So some part of my DNA knows there's a camera there, and I'm trying to avoid it. Despite you people telling me what to do. So that is part of the getting away from the camera.
You know that I think you missed one calling.
What was it?
Comedian. But I'm saying that you couldn't have gotten away, Venessa, because one, your father is a reggae bassist, and your mother being in the church, of course, she and the choir, you mentioned choir for your mom. Yeah. she's singing gospel. Your father is a reggae bassist. Then gospel reggae is what comes out of a union like that. Gospel reggae, any child that comes from a union will be impacted by something, or will be able to coin the phrase gospel reggae. And that is what you're giving us in this song called Footsteps. And I just want to play some more of this song, Footsteps, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about where you are today and where you want to go to. So this is the one that won what's it? My footsteps, they were ordered by the Lord. In fact, this is very prophetic actually, because in a way, because your footsteps were indeed ordered by the Lord. He gave you parents that would push you in this direction whether you like it or not. Am I right?
That is true, because my mother and we always had a large fight, a huge one, because I've always wanted books, because I was raised around academics.
Yeah.
It was like to the age of 10, not being interested too much in anything, book or anything. And then at around 10, I decided that I wanted books. And my mother, there were people around me, because I wasn't as quick as other people who were very negative, and they used to say she's not gonna be I remember one certain person, when everybody else had passed common entrance and my name wasn't on that list at that time, and the person said, "What happened to Miss I have another nickname. What happened to this miss nickname around the yard?"
Yeah.
and my mother said, "Boy, cause the name never in the newspaper." She said, "Oh, I'm not passing nothing but the Badawai Bridge." And I remember my mother turned her eyes up to the hills from whence cometh her help. It came from God, and she said something, and I knew it must have been prophetic. But I always said to my mother, I always said to myself, does my mother know what my calling is? Does she know what I'm going to be? And she always said, you always want to pursue academia, but you've never stopped to look at the gifts that God has given you. And one of these days, you're going to have to answer to the Most High God for giving you all these gifts that you ignore. But I guess her challenge or her direction from God was to drive me in that particular direction, which maybe was natural, and maybe the academia was a direction too from God, so the two things could be married. And I, as a young girl, I did join the choir. Eventually, I joined the choir, but I remember there was some times when the church persons wanted me to just sing, back then, gospel. But I had this reggae thing within me, and so I would go off to school, and when they're having concerts, I would be up there with Risco Benji and Beanie Man, singing things that they weren't slack, but in my mother and her church, these were not traditionally what you ought to be singing as a member of the church choir.
Well, I'm particularly glad that you allowed yourself to go there, because it is proving to be very, very beneficial to you and to those of us who listen to your music. Yes. All right. Tell me, you were a part of the song of the artists, the list of artists or list of songs. Your song was a part of the list of songs that were grilled on the very gruesome
verdict.
Dudley Thompson. What's the verdict?
When I heard about it, I was like, no, Mr. Thompson, him grill. It's going to burn up my little none. It's not. It's a gospel song. I'm going to just burn up my footstep thing and put it,
You understand? You have to go put down shoes by your footsteps.
I'm going to burn my feet rather. I was a little bit worried. I was like, I wonder if this is a good idea. But something in me said, leave it alone. And because he singled that one out and said footsteps, and I'm like, you mean this one? I remember when I went into the studio with this song, the young man in the studio I was doing the engineering with, he said, well, Pastor Don McDowell had sent me to him, and he says, boy, I don't build with him forever and everybody, so Uncle Don sent you down here, you must be very special. And I'm like, what level of arrogance? How did my footsteps get me before this, And then I said to him, well, I don't want to be here. I went off and I did a master's, and the songs would not stop playing in my ears.
Yes.
And God kept speaking to me that you have to go in. This is one of the directions that I want you to go in. There's other things that he wants me to do, but he says this one must be done first. And I just looked at him and I said to him, look here, I don't want to be here. I'm out here under duress. So the quicker you build this rhythm and get me out of here, then this whole thing about you not building rhythm for everybody will be over with, and me not wanting to be singing. Yeah, so that's what happened. And he built the footsteps rhythm, which was, I something said to my spirit, do not direct him in terms of where he must go. Yes. And he just went to reggae. Yes. And I said, but this is what I've been fighting for as a child. Yes. Now, why have I gotten it? And I have put it there, and I'm like, reggae, I'm used to singing it in a non-gospel, but what's the challenge with singing it in gospel now? Yeah. It's like God directed him to just straight for reggae for the first rhythm that he built. And I put it down for some months, and I'm like, but then something said to me, rise to the occasion. Yes. This is what you've always wanted. What you frowning about? And I just went and I started getting into it. And I said, I thought about my journey. I thought about people with multiple callings. Persons who are like David, who David was a politician, a king, a musician. And I thought about his own calling, how his footsteps were directed. And I've also thought about Joseph. And I thought about David and all of them. And I thought how their footsteps were directed since they were children. Yes. And they were not, when God's hand is on you, you are not a normal person, It's just, you've got to listen.
Yes, you have to.
You just have to.
Let me point out something to you that the Lord is telling me about your life. The Lord is showing me that in the Bible, most of the times when prophets are born, their mothers start out as barren women. The womb that they come from was shut up, and only a child like them could open that womb. And so they are special. Your song came out of a situation where the person building the rhythm don't want to do it, and you don't want to sing it either. So it's a barren situation. Yes? Yes. And it was birthed out of that. So it must do God's work, and it must be successful.
And I must tell you something about that rhythm builder. When I finished building it and I was ready, God said, you've got to go back. And he started showing me some stuff, positive things about that young man. Yes. And I'm telling you, today, he's one of the main musicians on my EP coming up, Mama's Prayer. And it turned out into a beautiful relationship where we are like brothers and sisters today, where he is a very gifted musician, Quesson Brown, a very gifted musician. And it became a beautiful relationship, with him in terms of musically, because he is, I would say, somebody who's musically mad, that young man. Yes. He is gifted.
You mentioned EP a while ago. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm doing 2 EPs. And the first one is dedicated to my mother and all the prayers and the things that she envisaged for me. It's called Mama's Prayer, because there was something about my mother and her prayer. No matter what person said about me, my mother was known as a prayer mafia. If somebody was troubling you and they were just messing with you and you don't know what to do, persons in the community would just go to my mother, and she would get on her knees and the business would be sorted. Amen. Yeah, so it's called Mama's Prayer. And in terms of how she prayed, the wicked mouths, as I said in that particular single on it that's dedicated to her, no matter what person said, my mother would use prayer to pray the mouths of me. And then something about her too. She was a warrior of sorts on her knees, and she was a praise warrior. My mother would fight many battles in worship and in praise. She was like David.
Yes.
So the EP Mama's Prayer is dedicated to my mother's love for God and the vision that she had for me spiritually. So on it there's Mama's Prayer. There is one called Lord Remind Me, which is it's been sung in collaboration, one version of it with Jessica Mangili out of South Africa. She is Nelson Mandela's praise poet.
Yes.
And it's a collaboration with her dedicated called Lord Remind Me of Your Strength. That song has been sung in 3 different languages. It's been sung in Xhosa, which is Nelson Mandela's language, Yoruba, which is Nigerian language, and of course English. And we hope to have a reggae version of it in the future. But that particular song is about David. It's before Goliath and Daniel in the lion's den. And then that song was written from a place, Lord Remind Me of Your Strength, where I remember I was working at a particular place and I've got this very jovial personality. And, you know, it brought a lot of love, just like those prophets in the Bible where the love that God has put on you, the favor, draws others to you.
Yes, amen.
And it can incite rage and jealousy in others. So I was being targeted by a certain woman, and she came one day, no quorum, no advertisement. My assistant was on leave, that she was, you know, gonna have a meeting, and I'm like, I wasn't prepared. The staff are all gone. So she came and she said she's thirsty. She wanted a jug of water. She trusted me enough to go for her water. So I got a large jug with 2 glasses, because it's 3 a quorum, there's 2. And I brought this jug to her. She says, well, I want a second jug. And I brought her a second jug. And the third jug that I brought, I said to her, Madam, in her legal title, I said, would you like fresh glasses this time as well? And she says, oh no, I'll use the same glass, but please get me a third large jug. And when I stepped down in a basement to go get the jug, I remember tears welling up in my eyes, because I knew this meeting had come from a place of provocation and a setup. And as I opened my mouth, you know, to start complaining, and I heard the song say, Lord, remind me of your strength, started playing loudly in my ear. Yes. And God said, wipe up your tears and record this on your phone. And I recorded the song on my phone. And when I recorded the song, I went back to Question Brown. That was the second song. And I said, Question, this is how this song came to me. Can you build me a rhythm? And he built the most beautiful rhythm for it. And I said, I hear Africa in it. This is what nonsense you're talking about. What you know about Africa? Because I'm like, I hear the Lord saying Africa in it. Yeah. So I said, I'm going to put drums in it. Because I said, oh, that's not going to happen. There will be no drums, Venessa. It's my rhythm. And I'm like, all right, I'll leave it like the way you do it. So what I did, I went to London, and I have Nigerian friends. Because my son is half Nigerian. He's a Yoruba boy called Mayowa. And something said to me, you have to translate this song in Yoruba. So my son and his entire team, Matilda, Region, all my friends, they came together and we all translated this song into Yoruba. And this is me practicing the Yoruba version. Then I went to a certain event and saw a beautiful African lady, Jessica Mangili. And I'm like, this woman, you know, I was in all my African traditional dress. I went to her stall. She looks very queenly. And I wanted to buy everything there. And as I opened my purse, with I think it was $3,000 because she didn't take card, to empty the entire purse on this chains, the Lord said, buy nothing to please yourself. I said, Lord, you must be joking. Buy something to please this woman. I'm like, what? Oh, no, God. And then anyway, I obeyed the voice and I said, no, what am I going to buy to please her? Except, you know, and I looked down and I saw a CD. And I says, oh, is this yours? You know, grudgingly. Is this yours? Durex again. She says, oh, yes, I sing. I say, oh, well, I'll buy this from you. Can you write your number there? So I took up the CD. I'm like, Lord, I don't even understand this language. What's going on here? And when I went home, I kept, you know, the Lord said, Google her. Says, oh, she was with the Grammy Awards, Soweto Gospel Choir. So I says, yeah, my daddy was a Grammy musician, put the CD down, so what about it? and I play the CDs in another language. I'm like, what a powerful voice, what a powerful woman. She's huge in South Africa. Praise Poet and so on. Won the South African award. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Then I had a dream. I dreamt that I saw Jessica Mangili coming and she was selling some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was humming the song, and the lady was in a Nigerian dress or an African dress, I think, and she was humming the song. And I remember looking at the lady because it's been translated in Nigerian already, language, and saying, no, 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 the collaboration of this song is not for me and you. The singing part of it is with me and Jessica. No. And I'm like, Lord, what is this? I got up the next morning and the dream was puzzling. I'm like, but I've translated it well. What are you sending me to do again? So I picked up the phone and I phoned her and I said, are you coming to Jamaica? She says, oh, next week I'm coming. And I'm like, I got a funny dream about you. You know, I didn't tell you what happened the day when I bought the CD from you. I was led. I wanted to buy all those stuff on your stall. And she said, sing. I told her dream, said, sing me that song. And I sing it. And it's like she drove out of the Wi-Fi zone.
Yeah.
And like before she drove out, she said, that's a beautiful song. And it means we have to do it together. And I'm like, all right, God, now you sent me on another journey. What's going on here? So she comes into Jamaica, and she comes today. Tomorrow we do the voicing of Lord, remind me of your strength. And then God says to me, you've got to now dedicate this song to Nelson Mandela, because he has been through being a man on a mission to deliver God's people. He has been through the same thing as you. And you've got to dedicate this song to Nelson Mandela, because your journey will be very much like Brother Nelson. And God knows, you know, the single is here to be released in South Africa in the coming weeks with Jessica Mangili.
Well, you know, I think that you are at the beginning of quite an illustrious career, Venessa. And I am happy that Brother Thompson gave me opportunity to speak with you on this very humble radio station.
William called me before Pastor. With all his gospel songs. I tell you, I've been before Pastor before, because when I sang all those reggae at school, they reported me before the church board. So Dudley Thompson, he just did the same thing again today, bring me before Pastor.
This time you're not being polished. But I just want to wish you everything that is wonderful with your career. And I know that I'm going to be hearing about you, reading about you, and seeing you on the big box doing what you do in a marvelously spiritually inspiring way. And, you know, I want to just encourage you also to follow your calling and to obey God at every turn, because when you do, obedience to God fortifies you and it puts the enemy, you know, to chaos. And I just want to encourage you to do that so that you can stand firm. The music business has become more of a friendly territory for females these days, but first time it was not so. And so you're coming in at a time when you can take advantage of what is now being offered to female artists.
I'm really glad for this opportunity, because I'm an advocate, and I am published in the area of women's rights and legislation.
Yeah.
So I do tend to look at the spaces in music, the studios, the spaces, the attitude, and how women, why is it that we didn't have more women before, and, you know, how can we make it better for female artists and encourage more females? And also, I'd like to call upon those people who have, because they have degrees or so, and they think music is not a place for them, but that's not so. God has called everyone, and every profession needs a certain, all types of people to bring the music fraternity, or should I say maternity, or the music profession, up to continue to bring it to the highest standard, because music is a very high calling. Because can you imagine a world without music? Oh my God.
Unimaginable.
To be very bad, very bad. So, you know, I have other persons like me out there who have a multifarious part of their calling. They might be called to politics as well as music, and I'm urging them to go into every aspect of your calling, because God must know why He's given you many parts to your calling, and He is ordering your footsteps, which one He wants first and which one will emerge next.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Vanessa, for passing through the fields of Roots of Man and for being a guest on Pastor Bello Live. The pleasure is really mine, and as I said before, I wish you every success in your career going forward.
Thank you.
I play this final one from you, and it is the one dedicated to Mommy.
Mama.
Yes,
She's Beverlyn Green, deceased.
And of course, I think Mother's Day is up on us, right? And so we're going to play it also for those of you who are mothers and celebrating your womanhood.
She is from the New Testament Church of God on the Salt Factory Road, and I just want to, all the mothers in that church, I want to thank them because they have prayed for me. And I just want to dedicate this to them and all the mothers in Jamaica primarily and the world at large, and send this out to the universe as well.
Let's sing it 2 minutes.
Praise me, you pray for me, you place me in my destiny. You gave me life, you gave me love. The greatest gift you gave was Christ. Oh, oh, Mama, you.